Hey there, imagine landing in Brazil expecting paradise on a budget. Sunshine, samba, and street food for pocket change. But then your Uber costs $40, dinner's $100, and suddenly you're checking your bank app like it's a horror movie. How did Brazil get so expensive? You ask yourself. This isn't just inflation. This is financial whiplash. And it's hitting both locals and tourists like a brick wall. In 2014, Brazil hosted the World Cup and flexed its muscles as a booming middle-income nation. But fast forward to today, people are leaving because they can't afford to stay. Middle-class Brazilians are moving to Europe because groceries are cheaper in freaking Portugal. That's not a meme, that's a headline. One Brazilian TikToker said she spent less living in Madrid than in Sao Paulo. And no, she doesn't mean rent, she means everything. So what happened? Why are everyday things like coffee, rent, and transportation now luxury tier in a country known for being budget-friendly? Buckle up because the truth behind Brazil's skyrocketing costs is way messier than you think. Politics, currency disasters, cultural contradictions, and some mind-blowing stats that'll make you scream, no way. You're watching Moneylythic. Now, let's get right into the video. Alright, so let's talk numbers. You'd think a country with such a massive agricultural base would have affordable food. But in Brazil, a dozen eggs can cost the same as in New York. A Big Mac meal, around $10, while the minimum wage is less than $300 a month. Do the math and you'll see why families are stretched so thin, it hurts. Here's a quick story. Larissa, a single mom in Sao Paulo, works 2 jobs, one as a hairdresser, the other delivering food on a bike. Her rent takes up half her income. The other half barely covers groceries, transportation, and school supplies for her kid. There's no room for emergencies, no savings, no margin, and if her bike breaks down, that's it. She's stuck. And this isn't just about poverty. It's about middle-class life becoming unsustainable. Even engineers, teachers, and office workers are side hustling just to keep up. One viral tweet said, "Being middle-class in Brazil feels like being rich in theory, but broke in reality." Why? Because while costs have risen dramatically, wages haven't kept up. Not even close. Inflation in Brazil doesn't just mean prices going up, it means your money shrinking every month. And because so many goods are imported, the weak currency hits everyone hard. Also, taxes. Oh boy, Brazil has some of the highest taxes in the world on consumer goods. Want to buy an iPhone? You might pay double what someone in the US does. Cars, electronics, even basic tech, all slapped with massive import duties. And unlike other countries, you don't get much in return. Roads are crumbling. Public health care is overwhelmed. Schools are underfunded. It's like paying premium prices for dollar store service. And yet the culture pushes you to look rich. Brazilians are known for dressing sharp, buying the newest phone, and spending like everything's fine. It's a society where appearances matter, and credit card debt is sky high because of it. One friend told me, in Brazil, your image is your currency. People aren't just trying to survive, they're trying to survive while looking like they're thriving. You'd expect all this in a war zone, not in one of the richest countries in Latin America. But hey, Brazil's problems don't come with sirens. They come with silence. And trust me, we haven't even hit the most infuriating part yet. So let's rip the curtain off. Why is Brazil, a country rich in natural resources and human talent, so brutally expensive? First off, the currency. The Brazilian real has been on a wild roller coaster. Political chaos, unstable markets, and external shocks have all sent it diving. When the real drops, imports get pricier. And guess what? Brazil imports a lot, from tech to medicine to car parts. Almost everything relies on foreign stuff. And when your currency is weak, that toaster suddenly costs you half a paycheck. Second, taxes. Brazil has one of the most complicated and punishing tax systems on Earth, a mind-numbing jungle of overlapping federal, state, and municipal taxes. Want to open a business? Good luck. You'll pay tax on tax on tax, and then still owe more for paperwork. It's like they invented bureaucracy just to keep accountants in business. And then there's corruption. For decades, Brazil's elite have treated public money like a private budget. Huge infrastructure projects vanish into thin air, or worse, get built halfway, fall apart, then cost double to fix. Every time there's a scandal, the public foots the bill. The government spends big, but inefficiency is built in. Here's a mind blower. Nearly 40% of Brazil's GDP goes to taxes. Yet basic services like education and healthcare are chronically underfunded. It's like pumping gas into a leaking tank. People feel the pain, but never see the benefits. And let's not forget protectionism. Brazil tries to protect local industries by slapping big tariffs on foreign goods, but this backfires. It makes everything more expensive and discourages competition. Local companies have no incentive to innovate, and the consumer stuck with overpriced mediocrity. Even homegrown products suffer. You can buy Brazilian-made shoes cheaper in Europe than in Brazil itself. That's how broken the pricing system is. Now imagine living in that system. You earn in reais, you spend in a market priced like dollars, and your public services are failing. That's Brazil in a nutshell. And the worst part, it's not some natural disaster, it's a series of decisions, policies, and greed that keeps the country running in place. It's not broken by accident, it's broken by design. Wait, it gets worse. The people who suffer the most, they're also expected to carry the economy on their backs, while pretending everything's fine. But here's where it gets psychological. Let's talk about how this economy messes with people's minds next. Take João, a 28-year-old from Recife. He works full-time, shares a room with two cousins, and spends 30% of his income on clothing. Why? Because where he's from, if you look broke, people treat you like you're worthless. His sneakers, a $300 flex bought on installments. He jokes that his credit card is basically a dignity subscription. There's a term for this: consumption as self-worth. When public systems fail and upward mobility feels impossible, people cling to image. Brazil's inequality doesn't just divide income, it divides reality. It's like living in a fashion show while the building's on fire. But if you stop to panic, you're out of the show. And this pressure, it's exhausting, emotionally, financially, and socially. But now let's zoom out. What does all this mean for Brazil's future? So what happens when a country becomes unaffordable for its own people? For starters, the brain drain is real. Talented Brazilians, doctors, engineers, coders, are packing their bags, not for adventure, but for basic survival. In 2023 alone, over 22,000 professionals applied for Portuguese citizenship, not for a passport stamp, for a better life. Even low-income families are fleeing. A growing wave of Brazilians is migrating to the US, Portugal, and even Paraguay, where costs are lower and life feels more stable. Imagine moving to Paraguay for better infrastructure. That's where we are. At home, survival means hustle. Food delivery apps, informal gigs, street vending, these aren't side jobs anymore. They're lifelines, and it's pushing an entire generation into burnout. Meanwhile, foreign investors see opportunity in chaos. With local spending power weak, international chains swoop in, offering just cheap enough products to dominate. It's economic colonialism with better branding. But long-term, a nation where professionals leave, kids grow up watching their parents struggle, and basic living becomes a luxury. That's a country bleeding potential. And it won't be fixed with another tax or subsidy. Brazil needs structural surgery, not a band-aid. Now that you've seen the big picture, what can you take away from all this? If you made it this far, you probably feel what millions of Brazilians live every day: frustration, confusion, and a big question mark over how such a beautiful, resource-rich country ended up trapped in its own economy. But Brazil isn't hopeless. It's just stuck in a cycle, and cycles can break. with the right policies, leadership, and a culture shift that stops rewarding image over impact. Brazil could become affordable, stable, and fair again. So next time you hear someone say, "Oh, Brazil must be so cheap," you'll know better. You'll remember Larissa on her bike, João with his dignity subscription, and the silent grind behind the Carnival mask. And if you're Brazilian or you've lived there, you know the real cost isn't just in money. It's in potential, in dignity, in dreams delayed. So tell someone what you learned, because if this video gave you that wow feeling, chances are it'll do the same for someone else. Smash that like button, comment with your thoughts or your own Brazil story, and don't forget to share this with someone who still thinks Brazil is cheap. Check out more deep dives like this right here on Moneylythic. We've got stories the world needs to hear.